Live Kabbalah is a non-profit organization founded for the distribution of the wisdom of Kabbalah and its values. Learning the original principles of this wisdom can reconnect us with the true values of our society, including the belief in the dignity and freedom of man, democracy, and the freedom of speech.
Hello everyone, this week we're in Parashat VaYishlah. And VaYishlah means and he sent. We're talking on Genesis chapter 32, verse 4. And it says, VaYishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav. And Jacob sent malachim. Now malachim, there are two ways to translate it. You can translate it as the common way is messengers. Send them to Esau, his brother. Malachim in Hebrew is also angels. Malach. Today, by the way, you don't use malachim, you use other words. You use malachim for only angels. But in ancient times, the word malach meant a messenger, it meant also a human messenger, somebody who sent somebody, to for any kind of purposes, business or politics or stuff like this. That was called a malach. But today, you use the word malach only for angels. So, some of the commentators are saying you really send angels. That's a whole thing about when you are going into a very challenging moment in your life, you have to prepare a lot of messengers, a lot of angels to send them to that moment to help you over there. So you can store a lot of angels by good deeds, meditations, send positive energy to that moment, load it up with positive energy, and that will help you as it helped Jacob. However, the two meanings both work in this parasha. So Jacob is sending those messengers to Esau, his brother, that he lives right now in Edom. Edom is, if you're talking about the land of Israel, Edom is about the southeast corner, just beyond or just after the Dead Sea. Okay? Which is not far, but not too close. And then he says to them, he tells them to tell Esau, I've been away for a while, and now I'm coming back, and I'm your servant, and I want to be in nice relationships. Remember, the last parasha, Jacob is leaving the land of the Holy Land, the Promised Land, is leaving to Haran, which is south of Turkey, for the purpose of running away from Esau, because Esau wanted to kill him, because he stole his blessing. Right? So we have this amazing stuff. Now, however, in this parasha, we have few major things. The beginning is the meaning of Jacob with Esau, and it's divided into two parts. One part is the preparation, and during the preparation, Jacob is crossing the river to bring some stuff he left behind. It was night, and then he has the fight with another angel. But that's the angel, the commentaries are saying, the Zohar is saying, this is the angel of Esau, which is the angel of darkness. He fights with that angel the whole night. He wrestles with that angel the whole night. In the morning, the angel sees he cannot take over, he cannot win, so he's asking Jacob, release me. And Jacob says, I won't release you until you bless me. And then the angel gives him a blessing. Your name is not going to be Jacob from now on, but Israel, which is a higher level than Jacob. If we have time, we'll get into it. Now, the war, the wrestling, the fight between the angel and Jacob was life and death. Jacob won. And then, the day after, he meets Esau, his brother, and his brother is coming with 400 men, warriors, for the meeting. Which means, we know exactly what he wants. Nothing changed with him. Which means, he wanted to kill Jacob in the beginning, and he still wants to kill Jacob. Now he has 400 men, warriors with him. Now he has a whole Now he is the head of a small nation. Okay? So we have one challenge. Finally, Jacob comes out of it alive with his family. We'll come to it. Another event that happens after that, and it says, and Jacob is entering the land, and he's settling in the city of Shechem, which is in the area of Samaria of today, the Shomron. And Shechem, he buys over there a piece of land, and he dwells over there, and then he has a terrible, terrible event. His daughter, Dinah, is being raped by Shechem ben Hamor, the son, which means Shechem was the son of the leader of the people of Shechem. And he rapes his daughter, which is another terrible event. The next issue is that the sons of Jacob wants a revenge, and kind of after a whole issue of deception, they kill all the men of Shechem as a revenge. Terrible event. And then Jacob has to flee, to run away from Shechem, from the vendetta. And on the way, Rachel is giving birth on the road, and she dies at birth. Rachel, the beloved wife of Jacob. She gives birth to Benjamin, the 12th son of Jacob, but she dies. And Jacob buries her on the road. Another terrible event. Okay? In the end, God is promising him some more promises, and then Jacob has already 12 sons. He comes to his father Isaac in Hebron to be with him. And then he's there when Isaac passes on. Okay? And the story ends by telling about Esau and how he developed, and his offsprings, and the kingdom that came instead, which is a whole big code for lots of secrets that I don't know if we'll have time for that. Now, what is this story about? The story is about, first of all, we have 3 huge traumas, right? We have the meeting between Jacob and Esau, all the facets of it, the angel and so on. We have the event in Shechem, and we have the death of Rachel. Each one of them is traumatic enough to make you busy with trauma and strings for the rest of your life. All of them in one parasha. Why do we have to read all of these stories right now? Because as we said before, there's a meaning, and every parasha is here to give us, as the Hebrew saying is saying, Kadma Trufa Lamaka. God always creates the medicine before the disease. You just have to look around. For instance, what is known that wherever poison ivy grows, there's also the plant that you can create the antidote from that, which means wherever there is the disease, there's a problem. Kadma Refuah Lamaka. There's already the medicine. God already prepared the medicine, which means every hardship we could go through during this week, the medication, the remedy is already in the parasha of this week. That's how we should look at this parasha, which is the remedy for all the ailments we can go through during this week. Now, if we try to figure out what this parasha is about, of course you cannot disconnect this parasha from the previous parashot. And in the previous parashot, so in the previous parashot, we saw a development of a mechanism for every human being to deal with any kind of strife, problems, and hardships, and growth, basically. We learn about the birth of the right column energy, the energy of sharing and kindness and love, it's a necessity that a human being is not a human being without it. That's Abraham. Then we heard about Isaac. Isaac is the desire to receive, which means you have to learn also how to receive. You can't just give. And Jacob is the ability to balance between the two, and we spoke last week in Parashat that the offsprings or the outcomes of Isaac, the toldot, the outcome of Isaac, which is the desire to receive, there are two of them. One is the desire to receive for the self alone, which is total selfishness, which is represented in the story by Esau. We're not talking about a human being that lived many thousand years ago. There was somebody like this, but that's none of our business because we're not into studying history. We're talking about the other side of our personality, the desire to receive for the self alone, the urge to take for oneself alone, the urge to be selfish, which is pretty childish. Okay, and which is also called the other self, or the false self of a person in Kabbalistic teachings. And we have the real self, which is the real soul, which is represented by Jacob, the desire to receive for the sake of sharing, which means whatever I take, I always find a way to share some of it with someone else. Why? Because what we learn in Kabbalah, the first rule in life is everything we want and only what we want is the light of the Creator. We want nothing else. We want it packaged differently many times, but whatever we want is the endless light of the Creator. And since similarities attract, if you want to attract yourself to the endless light of the Creator, you have to behave in a similar way. And you cannot be selfish and be attached to the Creator at the same time, because this is impossible. You have, in order to attach yourself and connect yourself to the endless light, you have to behave in that way. What that means, whenever you receive in order to share, what do you create? An endless motion. And by that, when you create mercy, compassion, love, which is whatever I receive, it's all also to share. You create that endlessness within you, that frequency of endlessness, and that makes you be close and attached to the Creator Himself and His light, which is what we really want. So, Jacob is the real self. It's that self that came from the endless, in the Tzimtzum, that we came to this world to acquire, to work for, achieving that trait, which is the desire to receive for the self alone. Why? Because, as we learn in Kabbalah for beginners, nobody can really receive something unless they work for it. Because there's a shame in receiving something for nothing. We can only enjoy and hold on to stuff that we really own. What does it mean, own? That we worked for it, we created it, we were the cause for it. Right? That's human nature. Why? Because we came from the Creator Himself. And the Creator Himself, nobody shares with Him, nobody gives Him, He needs nobody, and He is the source of everything, so we would like to have at least a feeling that whatever we have, we are the source for that, because we achieved it, we created it, we made it happen. Unless we get it for free, for some reasons, we feel uncomfortable. Sooner or later, we feel uncomfortable with the situation. Okay? So, these two sides are Jacob and Esau. After we learn that, after we establish that these traits during the last weeks, now it's time for the real game. And the real game is life. And in life, we have few stories that repeat themselves in people's lives, especially if you want to be spiritual, if you want to be a successful person. One is conflict with other people that hate you, want to kill you, wants to destroy you, wants to deprive you out of all what you've got. You always have these things, either at work, family, neighborhood, whatever, politics. This is something a human being has to go through. Fight and conflict, people go through that. That's life. The other one, The other one is all kinds of family disasters. We have the story of Jacob, that his daughter is being raped, and then his sons are in a vendetta killed the people of Shechem. This is extreme. All of these three events are extreme. However, people go through them. You cannot live without going through some kind of a strife one on another. And the third one is the loss of a loved one, which is Jacob is losing Rachel. All of these are really heavyweight disasters, challenges. Some people go through it and somehow survive it. I emphasize survive it. When a person is surviving, he's not a winner. Winners are not survivors. There's a difference. Survivors, they somehow hang on. They just survive. Winners are not survivors, because in order to be a winner, you need much more energy than to survive. To survive, you need a small amount of energy, and that's enough. You just, you look at yesterday and today, and you say, okay, I survived yesterday and today. It's minimal amount of energy, just to be. Okay, winning means overcoming, recreating, and achieving. Right? That's a lot more energy. While if you're not in the surviving part, and not in the winning part, then you're in the loser's part, and that means dying. Which means every day you die more, till you finally declare dead by the doctor. Now, this is what being a human being is about. It's about the ongoing challenges that you have to deal with. And now, a major issue to deal with that, because every time we go through these issues, we have a huge question involved. Every time. Which is, what kind of wrong decisions did I make to bring me into such a terrible place? And then I'm busy with regret, shame, and guilt. Okay? And let's see. Let's start with the beginning of the story. And Jacob is sending the messages of the angels to Esau, his brother, to tell him he's coming. I've been away for a long time. I've been with Lavan, our uncle, in Haran, and I came back. And the Zohar is asking a very simple question. The question is like this, in the Zohar itself, and it says, מפני אמר רבי אבא, מפני מה נתעורר לשלוח אל עשיו? Why did Jacob even bother to wake up this issue? He ran away 22 years earlier on his life. He ran away from his parents' home, from Isaac and Rivka, and he ran away to his uncle in Haran. Now he's coming back. Why do you have to wake up the old dispute? Esau lives in Edom. Edom is today Jordan. Isaac and Rivka, they live in Hebron, which is today the south part. It's the Judea area south of Jerusalem. Okay, still it's not very close, because it's a day walk, right? In those days, with transportation. And he says, why did he have to wake up the dead? Why to wake up Esau? מוטב היה לו לשתוק ממנו. Wasn't that better if Jacob just shut up and be quiet, sneak in to his parents' home, and maybe Esau will learn about it later on and will say, yeah, okay, sometimes it sounds like, why waking up the dead? אלא אמר יעקב, Jacob said, יודע אני שעשיו חושש על כבוד אבא. I know that Esau is really very focused on respecting our father Isaac. And therefore, and he never did anything knowingly to upset Isaac. And therefore, since Isaac is still alive, I'm not afraid of Esau, and it's better as long as Isaac is alive that we meet and we deal with this issue right now. So now, I don't know how long my father is going to be alive. Isaac was already old at that time. However, I should make peace with Esau today as long as father is alive. Okay? Sounds... but we have two problems with it. The assumption he made was wrong, because Esau, as a result, Esau is coming with 400 men in order to kill him. Wrong calculation, right? But that brings us another wrong calculation. 22 years earlier, when he leaves, when Jacob is leaving home to run away to his uncle, it is because Rivka, his mother, is saying, soon enough, when Isaac dies, Esau is going to kill Jacob. He's waiting for that. She knows that. She heard him saying that. So, she says to Isaac, let's send Jacob to my brother in Haran, meanwhile, to find a wife. But that was her excuse to get Jacob out of the home, away from the vicinity of Esau, so Esau won't kill him. Okay? Wrong decision. Why? According to this calculation, because here 22 years later, Isaac is still alive. Which means, what did Jacob do 22 years suffering with Lavan when his father is still alive? If Rivka was saying, you know what, I trust God, and I know Isaac is not going anywhere, or whatever, if she was a prophet, it is known that she was a prophet, one of the highest level prophetess in history. Okay? Didn't she see that Isaac is going to live much longer? Why did she hurry to send Jacob to Haran? As we see right now, historically, it was a wrong decision. Why? Because if the decision was to send Jacob away, because Isaac is going to die any moment, 22 years later, Isaac is still alive. All of these years, Jacob could be staying home with his parents. Right? So, although the calculation came out wrong, it came out right. How could that be? And that's something that we have to remember. And this is what this parasha is focusing about. Jacob went to Lavan. He went from a place of immediate danger for his life, Esau, to Lavan that was indirect danger for his life, because he was a slave over there for 22 years. It was not such a nice experience to be with Lavan. However, what came out, that 22 years later he's coming back, and now he wants to meet with his Esau. As we said, again, wrong decision. His assessment was that as long as my father is alive, Esau won't kill me. Esau comes with 400 people, with warriors, in one purpose, which is to kill Jacob. Another wrong assessment. But they were really great people. Rivka was a prophet. Jacob was a prophet. Very high-level prophet. They made mistakes. And they did not. Why? Look at the outcome. What was the outcome? 22 years that Jacob suffered with Lavan. It was hell. If we read the end of the previous parasha, when he is running away, he has to run away from his father-in-law. He has to run away. Finally, his father-in-law gets him just on the borders of the Holy Land, and he says, and Jacob is finally, after 22 years, he says, like, if you read the story, he says, like, I suffered so much being with you. You cheated me, and you cheated me, and you cheated me. And you treated me terrible, not like your nephew. Like a slave, worse than that. Which means Jacob was in a place of bitterness from that. So Jacob could look backwards at the 22 years he was with Lavan and say, what a terrible time was it? But he was not. Why? 22 years later, after the experience he had with Lavan, it was not the same Jacob that was before. Yes, Jacob was running away for his life. Okay? When he left 22 years earlier. He was running away from for his life, and on the way, There's a legend saying that Esau sent his son Eliphaz to kill Jacob. And he caught Jacob. He was chasing Jacob on the way, and he caught Jacob. Jacob, on his way to Haran, he knew his mother sent him over there, his parents sent him over there to find a wife from the family. So they gave him a lot of dowry money. Like when Eliezer went to bring Rivka, he brought a lot of gold in order to pay the family so he can get the bride. So the same story over here. He took with him a lot of gold and jewelry and money and stuff like this in order to pay. On the way out from his parents' city, from his parents' town, he found Eliphaz. And Eliphaz, the son of Esau, gets a message from Esau. Esau saying, my father is alive, I can't kill Jacob, but I can send my son to kill him. I didn't kill him, my son killed him. It was just a family feud. Okay, so his son wants to kill Jacob, they fight. He's going to kill Jacob, and Jacob says to Eliphaz, how can you kill me? Just think about the pain, the anguish it's going to cause your grandparents, Isaac and Rivka. And Eliphaz says, I know, but what can I do? My father told me to kill you. I can't disobey my father. So Jacob says, you know what? I'll give you all the gold and the money I have. And there's a saying in Hebrew saying, Ani chashuv kemet. A poor person is a dead person. So after I give you all the money, I'm a dead person. So you did not disobey your father's will. So he gives everything to Eliphaz. When he comes to Haran, he is poor. He has only his staff. That's it. And therefore he has to work 7 years for Rachel. Then it's Leah, not Rachel. Then 7 years for Rachel. 14 years. Then another 7 years he had to work, because he was penniless. Right? He worked for them, but he had nothing. So he had to work a few more years in order to gain what was his salary. He made a deal with Lavan, and Lavan cheated him, and he somehow outsmarted Lavan. So he got lots of flocks and cattle and camels and a lot of. But he worked for it. If he had the money, maybe the whole story will be different. Another thing, Jacob, such a wise guy, when he meets Rachel, he says, you are my soulmate, let's marry. And she says, my father is a cheat and a liar. He says, you know what? I'm also a cheat and a liar. Let's see who wins the duel. And what do? She gives him the signs. We spoke about it last week. She gives him the signs. If Lavan is switching Rachel during the night of the wedding, he would know. What happens? Lavan is switching her for Leah, and Rachel cannot bear the thought. She cannot bear the thought that Leah is going to be ashamed when Jacob finds out during the wedding, so she gives her the signals. Okay? Another miscalculation of a wise, great person like Jacob. But look what happened. If he did not marry Leah, 6 of the 12 sons will not be born, because Leah gave birth to 6 of them, which is Reuben, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, Issachar, Zvulun. Half of the nation of Israel would not come to the world if he didn't marry Leah. So something good came out of it. And another thing, because he came so poor over there, and he had to work so hard, and he had to fight with Lavan so hard, when Jacob is coming back 22 years later, it's not the same Jacob. It is a Jacob that is much smarter, much wiser, much more powerful, a self-made man. Although all the atrocities, all the cheating and the lying of Lavan, so we have to look at our lives that many times we have guilt and remorse for all kinds of decisions we made. We learn from this story, you can never, ever make the right decision. We are not smart as those people. We are not wise as those people. And you know, those people, they thought they're wise, they were prophets, and we see here a series of a whole, it's just mistakes and mistakes and mistakes and mistakes. And what came out of them? Only good things. Only great things came out of them. You figure this way, but that's not the way it should be. So Jacob figured out that he has to marry only Rachel. It was wrong. It was wrong. So he was wrong. You know what? He did his best. He was cheated. The result was he got 4 wives, 12 children, exactly the 12 sons he needed. So, our job is never ever to have remorse for the decisions we made. We're not supposed to know the whole picture. We're not supposed to figure out the whole picture. We have to do the best we can. However, doing the best we can is always put the best of our effort. Always to remember that those ideas that we learned about, that you have 2 of you, each one of us. We have the 2 of us. We have the Jacob within ourselves, and we have the Esau within ourselves. We always have to fight for Jacob against Esau. It's fighting that angel. This is the wrestling and the wrestling and the wrestling. And it says it was night. Yeah, because when is the wrestling the hardest? When it's night. When we feel there's no light. When we feel we're lost. When we feel we made mistakes. And here we learn that you're never lost. And you never make mistakes. What did he get out of this wrestling with the angel? He didn't win. He simply did not stop wrestling. That's what destroyed the angel. You have to remember something I learned in the darkest moments in my life. And every person has dark moments. And I learned as long as I'm fighting, I'm winning. Why? Because the fighting, as long as I fight, it means that the dark side did not get for me what he wanted. What's the problem? The problem is when it's everything becoming quiet. Then I should be afraid that he got everything, he doesn't need me anymore. Because he got everything he needed. As long as there's a fight, I'm still having what he wants. Which is my soul, which is my dignity, which is the hope. As long as I'm fighting, I'm winning. And therefore, Jacob did not have to win against the angel. He just have to keep on fighting, never giving up, till morning came. What is morning? The darkness cannot go on forever. The light will come. The light will shine. The moment the light shines, that's over with the dark angel. Because we know the darkness is only an illusion. Light is much, much stronger. When the darkness has a moment, just a moment, it can trick us. But that moment is only for a moment. The fight is never to believe that the darkness is real. As long as you fight, you win. And you know what Jacob did? He did not win the fight. He just kept on fighting. That's what he kept the fight on. That was his victory. He did not have a victory. His victory was that he never stopped fighting. As long as you fight, you're winning. What was the result? The angel is giving him a name. Your name is not going to become Jacob anymore. It's not going to be Jacob anymore. Jacob, the word Jacob comes from the word Akev. Akev means a heel, which is the lowest part of the human body. The part that the whole body is standing on, but is the part that is the thickest and the lowest. That's why Jacob is connected to the level of the higher worlds when they touch our physical world. The angel says then, your name is going to be from now on Israel, which is known Israel. What is Israel? The Zohar is explaining. In Israel you have all patriarchs and matriarchs in one. You have in Israel the letter Aleph for Abraham, the letter Sin for Sarah. You have the Yud for Yitzchak, Isaac. You have the Reish for Rivka, Rebecca. You have the Yud for Yaakov, Jacob. You have the Lamed for Leah, and Reish for Rachel. All three patriarchs and four matriarchs are in the name Israel. And also, what does it mean? The whole power of being a chariot, of the upper triangle, of the upper connecting to the upper world, is within the power of Israel. Why? Because he did not stop fighting. He did not give up. Just the fighting. Many people think that the winning is that, wow, I finished, everything is done. No. The winning is that you keep on fighting. Because as long as you're fighting, you're still holding on to the hope and to the vision. As long as you do that, you're winning. We're not here to finish the job. We're here to do the best job possible. That's the winning. And many people may have a mistake. They think that winning means that, oh, now I can rest. This world is not for rest. Shabbat is for rest. This world is not for rest. This world is to get the energy from the ongoing fight, the ongoing strife, the ongoing conflicts and challenges. That's what we do not waste time on resting. When we die, we go to heaven and then we can rest over there. Here, it's time to work. As it says in Genesis, 6 days that God created to do. We're here to do, we're not here to rest. Although many people think that whatever they do is only to rest in the end. No. Somebody sent me this email about this lady in New York, 100 years old. She's teaching, she just got offered to teach Jewish humor in Hunter's College. And she was asked, when do you want to retire? She said, to retire? Never. At the moment I retire, I'll die. What does it mean? We're not here to retire. We're here to work. And, whatever you call it work, it doesn't mean just a 9-to-5 job. Work means you get up in the morning for purpose and you have something to do. And you have something to achieve. That's work. Now, Israel is also the word, 2 words, if you rearrange the letters, which happens a lot when you try to understand the source of Hebrew letters and words. It's also the letters for the word li rosh, which means my head. So, think about Jacob from the level of the heel going up to the level of the head. Why? He didn't give up. Okay? The beginning of the Parashat, it says, VaYishlah Yaakov Malachim. What is Jacob telling Esau? He's very, very smart over here. He's not the same Jacob that was in the beginning. In the beginning it says that Jacob is Ish Tam. Tam means, when you say the word Tamim, Tamim means in general Hebrew is somebody who is kind of gullible, somebody who doesn't see the whole picture, a kind of a person that doesn't believe that anybody can be negative or evil. He's so into goodness that he doesn't even figure out there's something terrible that can happen or somebody that you have to check people out. But he's not anymore. He had enough. Right? So, see his strategy. When Jacob is sending the messages to Esau, his brother, and he says, so you're going to say to my master Esau. So he's calling him my master. Okay? He's humbling himself. He's giving a lot of respect to Esau. He's the older brother, although he was born a minute earlier. He says, so said your servant Jacob. And he says, I lived with Lavan till now. What's the big message? The message the sages are saying, oh, it's a big message. Why says I lived with Lavan? So the Zohar says, what for? What did it? What was the message? It's a fact. It's a trivial fact. Of course, Esau knew that he lived with Lavan. Well, what's the message? But the Zohar says, Lavan Harami. Lavan Harami. Change of letters. Naval Haramai. Lavan means white, but Lavan was not white. He was black. He was the darkest lord of witchcraft, dark magic in the world. So, change of letters from Lavan to Naval. Naval means an evil, very dark, evil person. Haramai means the cheat. Aramaic. But that was all in a hiding. Everybody knew. He was Naval Aramai. He was the terrible, cheat, liar, murderous, dark lord of witchcraft and magic. Everybody around the world was afraid of him. When Jacob is saying, I lived with that person all of these years, and I'm coming out over here and I'm sending you all of these gifts. He was the head of sorcerers and warlocks, more than anybody else. Anyway, he could not destroy Jacob. So, because everybody knew that, nobody had the conflict with Lavan and came out alive out of it. The first thing that Jacob is sending to Esau, that's what the Zohar is saying, Im Lavan Gati. I lived with Lavan, you're going to say a month or a year? No, 20 years I've been with him. And you're going to say that nothing happened over there, that I got nothing out of it? And he says that I had an ox and a donkey, sheep, flocks, slaves, and maidservant. What does it mean? All of these are hints, clues for the different levels of sorcering. Which means Jacob is saying, and I mastered all 4 levels of dark magic. That's what I learned over there. How to fight those dark forces of Lavan, and I came out of there. I didn't just run away. I came out with see all the gifts I'm sending you. The camels, the sheep, the goats, hundreds and hundreds of them. And you're going to say that already, that I was not just living there. Maybe I became, maybe Lavan corrupted me. Garti is the same letters as Taryag. Taryag is a number in Hebrew that is 613, which is a symbol for 613 precepts in the Torah. And what Jacob is saying, the commentator is saying to Esau, I did not change. I observed all 613 precepts in Lavan's house, in the lion's den. What's the first reaction for Esau? Oh, this guy is not the guy that left, that ran away from me 22 years ago, right? So that was a scare tactics. However, so think about the strategy of Jacob. He's telling him in a nice way. He did not scare him, but it was underneath. He's saying to him, look, I lived with Lavan till now, and I have this. But underneath the words Lavan, Esau is realizing, whoa, this guy is really powerful. He's now afraid. Why? If Jacob won the fight with Lavan, came out victorious, what about me? Well, he can finish me in a second, right? Then Jacob is sending him all the cattle. In one hand, he's sending him presents to show him, look how much I've got. On the other hand, Esau is saying, like, if he has so much and he's so powerful, why does he need to send me so many gifts? Maybe he's afraid of me. What's happening? This is amazing trick. The best enemy, the strongest enemy of every human being is doubt. When you have certainty, no matter what, even you have certainty in a lie, still that gives you a lot of power. But when you're mixed up, you're powerless. You're finished. When Esau was sure that Jacob is that powerful sorcerer, that the number one sorcerer in the world, he was afraid, but at least he had certainty. This is Jacob, right? Jacob is a mean, powerful, negative sorcerer, going to finish me. So he knows already the picture. He knows what to do. Maybe he brought with him not 400 warriors. Maybe he brought 400 warlocks with him to fight Jacob. And then Jacob is sending him all of these gifts. Esau is starting to be like mixed up. Why is he sending me all these gifts? Maybe he's not that powerful. And then the last thing is when they meet, Jacob bows down 7 times to Esau. And Esau is like, what a relief, the guy bows down to me. He was afraid that he's going to jinx him and finish him off. He didn't know what to expect to. When you are, that's one of the major ways, if you're going to have a big conflict with somebody, you have to mix power from one hand and showing friendship on the other hand. What are you doing in that moment? You mix him up. Mix what up? His two selves, the Jacob and the Esau within. This is a very powerful thing, because what finally happened, the moment, if you just figure out, Esau is so much afraid of Jacob. He's coming with 400 people. He's threatened. He's ready for war. Okay? He doesn't know how big is the army Jacob has. And he knows also that Jacob has a lot of powers. He doesn't know what to expect to. He doesn't know where the war is. So he's coming ready. Okay? He wants to kill Esau, but still, the Jacob, but still doesn't know, the tactics and he doesn't know where to attack. Physically, metaphysically, he's mixed up. Suddenly, Jacob is bound down to him and hugging him. What happens? He's relieved. Oh, he's not attacking me. That moment, Esau breaks down. He breaks down and he starts to cry in a relief. And he kisses Jacob. What a smart tactics. To show, when you have a conflict, on one hand, you have to show how powerful you are. On the other hand, you have to show grace and compassion. And that moment, the person in front of you, he's mixed up. The moment people are mixed up, they're touching the fear. And touching the fear is the most painful place you can touch. In that moment that you show them compassion and love, they'll hang on to it, because that's the only thing that will give them relief from what they're going through. So, the story is much bigger, because the Zohar is teaching us that when you go for a war, for conflict there, you have to prepare 3 things. 1, you have to show yourself strong than ever. You have to be prepared for war, because who said that? If you want peace, you have to be prepared for war. In this world, being weak is nothing. The world is taken over by people who are strong. Now, the strength has so many aspects, but you cannot be weak. You cannot be weak. You have to work all the time to be the strongest possible. Okay? Because there's no mercy. There's no mercy. Okay? Especially in certain neighborhoods in this world. Most of the world, there's no mercy. And most of the time. You have to be strong. You go for a conflict, you have to prepare for a war. All the way. And Jacob is preparing for a war. The second thing, the same time you're preparing for a war, prepare for peace. Send gifts, send compassion, send love. On the same time, you have to do both. And the third thing, which is the first thing, really, is prayer. What is the prayer for? The prayer is the strongest tool a human being can have. Why? Because the prayer, when you go for war, you need conviction, you need power, you need strength, you need connection to the light. You need a prayer for that. And the prayer has to be from the deepest place in your heart. The prayer will give you the power to be ready for the war. So you need the prayer for that. You need a prayer also for the other part. To show compassion. Where are you going in the middle of preparing for a war? Where are you going to take the energy to show compassion to your enemy? And be ready for peace. Cease and desist all actions of war and create peace. You have to be ready for that too. Where you go. That means that, many times, that takes even more power than be ready for war. You have to be ready for both. You have to show strength on one hand and show compassion on the other hand. Who is going to give you the power to do that? Conviction. And where are you going to get that power from? From the prayer. Because as we said, it doesn't matter how smart you are, not just smart IQ, not just smart SQ, spiritual quotients, also, EQ, emotional quotients, SQ, spiritual quotients. You have to be, who can be more and higher than Jacob and Rivka? And we learn, they made many mistakes. However, if Rivka did not send Jacob to Lavan, and if he did not go through all the hardships by Lavan, he wouldn't be able to deal right now with Esau. What was the result? It was really scary. The meeting was really scary in a moment that could become a bloodshed. However, the result was that Esau left Jacob alone for the rest of their lives. Later on, when Isaac dies, they bury him together as brothers. Which means Esau let go of his desire to kill Jacob. Why? Jacob knew how to shift the consciousness of Esau. Many people think that war is the way to bring peace. Mistake. When you go for war, and you kill, and you hit your enemy a big strike, what was the result? Maybe they can sit quietly, but they still will never forget the revenge. Victory. The word victory in Hebrew is nitzachon. Nitzachon comes from the word netzach. Netzach means everlasting. When is it a victory? When it's everlasting. If you won a battle, it doesn't mean you finished the war. You won a battle, you've really, really inflicted a lot of pain on your enemy. Now his hatred is bigger, his revenge is bigger. The only way to stop that is, on one hand, you have to be strong enough. On the other hand, you have to make him stop thinking that you are his enemy. World War II was finished after the Axis countries, Germany and its allies, were hit like never before. The next thing was the Marshall Plan. The Americans poured tons of money into Europe to rebuild Europe, to put Europe on its feet. What was the result? Europe is on the side of America since then. Why? On one hand, and who is the biggest ally of America? Italy and Germany. Isn't that the enemies from before? Because you won, but you gave a lot of compassion. You have to remember, winning a war is a double-edged sword. World War I was finished, the Germans were hit, they were not hit enough, and there was no compassion coming afterwards. It only shame and humiliation. The result was World War II. Okay, we have to remember that the result of the meeting between Esau and Jacob was that Esau stopped trying to kill Jacob. That was a peace till both left this world. This is a big... And what was the tool? Be ready for war. Be ready, on the other hand, for gifts and compassion. And the third thing, which is the first, prayer to be able to do both. The other two stories is just another message. Jacob has this horrible fight, horrible story happening in Shechem. that his daughter is being raped, his sons are killing the people of Shechem. However, what came out of that rape was Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, gave birth to a girl, Asenat. That baby somehow found its way to Egypt. How is this connected? We'll see. The next part of the story is that Rachel dies. She dies on the road. She's buried on the road where she died. That burial place of Rachel is a place of pilgrimage for thousands of years. Why? Why? For people, because by dying so, Rachel became the chariot for helping whoever is on the road. Whoever is in need, who is in trouble. That's why so many people along the generations came to Rachel's tomb to cry and to pray for help in their pain, because she knew what pains meant. She knew what does it mean to have no children. So that's one of the most famous places when Jewish women along the generations were hopeless. They came to Rachel's tomb to cry and to pray over there, and so many miracles in thousands of years happened from women coming to cry for Rachel. More than that, in the next parasha, when Joseph is being sold by his brothers as a slave, and he was sent to Egypt by the Ishmaelites or the Midianites, on the way to Egypt, they go on the highway. And who's buried on the highway? His mother. They pass by her grave. He jumps from the camel and he runs to his mother's grave on the way to Egypt, and he's crying. And over there, she gives him the power. Don't give up. Your dreams will come true. Don't give up. You'll win, you get whatever you want. Just don't give up. That's the power that Rachel is giving everybody who comes to get the power from Rachel. If she was not there, would he be able to withstand all the challenges he had to in Egypt? So this parasha is a lot about the fact we're not here to be smart. No, we're not here to make right decisions. We're here to make the fight. We're here to always trust the light. We're here to pray. We're here to be the best we can be. We're here because that fight between Jacob and Esau within us, it's here to stay forever. We're not going to rest. But when we look at every challenge as an opportunity to grow, then the worst cases, the worst stuff that will happen to us, it's not a disaster. It's only opportunities. When Joseph comes to Egypt, and he becomes now second to the king, and he has to get married, he cannot marry an Egyptian, an idol-worshipping Egyptian. Who would he marry? When he's driving in his chariot in the streets of Egypt, it says all the beautiful girls of Egypt were throwing jewels on him, that he will look at them. He was one of the 7 most beautiful men ever walking on earth. He would marry them. He wouldn't marry them. But one day he's passing by the house of Potiphera, that adopted, remember the baby that came from the rape? Dinah's daughter, that she found her way to Egypt? She was adopted by Potiphera, Kohen On, the priest of On, one of the highest ranking priests in Egypt. She is there in her adopting parents' home. She's on the roof, and she looks at Joseph, and she knows he is the one for her. She doesn't know who she is, because she was a baby when she got to Egypt. But there was one thing she knew she had. She had on herself a golden jewel that Jacob gave her, put on her, before he lost her. He knew she's going to get lost. On that golden jewel, he wrote names of God and angels to protect her. She didn't know what it is, but she knew she was found with that. That was the most precious thing she had. But when she saw Joseph, she knew he's the most precious she would ever have. So she didn't know how, but she knew he's the one. She took off her golden jewel and she threw it at Joseph. He picked it up and he saw his father's inscriptions on the jewel. And then he knew that she is his lost niece. And he married her. So that story in Shechem did not come out that bad. 2 sons came out from this couple, Ephraim and Manasseh, that became 2 big tribes among the 12 tribes of Israel. Okay? So, we never know what decision, where is it going to lead us. But we know, if we keep up the rules that we just learned, everything, no matter how terrible it looks like, it will come out right. So, use the opportunity and see victory this week. Thank you.